Turkish Green Crescent to raise an awareness on addiction and role of young people fighting against addiction at all levels. I would like to congratulate the valuable efforts of Turkish Green Crescent team in cooperation with ICYF team for designing this unique online training module that will enhance your knowledge on addiction impactfully. So I would like to start the opening ceremony, and I would like to introduce our distinguished guest speaker, Mr. Emrah Altuntecim. Mr. Emrah Altuntecim is training manager at Green Crescent and graduated from Istanbul University Faculty of Communication. He completed his master's degree in Kocaeli University, Department of Communication Sciences, and completed his PhD study about industrial psychology. He has given trainings and symposium to more than 30,000 people, not only in Turkey, but also in foreign countries like United States, China, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Qatar, Italy, Cyprus, and Spain. He also presented personal development programs as a permanent guest for 2 years in TRT Radio. He has certificate of career coach from International Coach Academy and certificate of assessor skills accredited from English Psychology Society. Altuntecim has 6 published books about business life and personal development in English and Turkish. So, Mr. Emrah, floor is yours, please.
Esselamu Aleyküm ve Rahmetullahi ve Berekatuhu.
Can't hear you.
Esselamu Aleyküm ve Rahmetullahi ve Berekatuhu. Merhaba from Turkey. Hi everybody. I'm Emrah Altuntecim, the training manager of Green Crescent. Firstly, I'm really so happy and proud to be with you on this screen. Actually, this screen is so meaningful for all of us after the pandemic situations in all over the world. And what a pity that we all go on experiencing a tough period, as you know. So we will fulfill this screen not only with new informations, also about addiction awareness, and also we'll try to have a connection between hearts that lives in many countries. And we will have awareness moments under the umbrella of ICYF and Green Crescent. And first of all, I want to thank to the ICYF management team to give us this online training opportunity to all of these brilliant attendees in all over the world. So let me summarize our identity first of all. As you all know, Turkish Green Crescent Society, we say in Turkish as Yeşilay, has been continuing to provide services in public health and addictions for the benefit of society and has been realizing a significant part of its activities in line with this purpose, centered on protective and preventive activities in the field of fighting against chemical and behavior addiction types. Starting with the cooperation protocol with the Turkish Ministry of National Education, each year, over 10 million students and almost 3 million adults are reached while face-to-face and online seminars organized for many different sections of the society, including professionals, workers, private sector employees, and etc. Thanks to cooperation with other public organizations and the private sector and the NGOs target raising awareness on addictions. Extending protective and preventive activities in the fight against addictions, raising awareness with training programs and campaigns shall increase effectiveness of our prevention activities by contributing to development of health behavior models and increasing of information and skills to protect new generation from addiction risks. We believe organizations and institutions that we cooperate with as Green Crescent are important and effective partners in our struggle, as well as young people. To that aim, we come together with more than 100 young Green Crescent University communities all around Turkey in camps and cooperate by organizing peer trainer trainings to ensure young people assume more effective roles in the fight against addictions and reach thousands of university students all over the country. Within the scope, the Young Volunteers Fighting Against Addictions online training program that will be organized with the Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum on today and tomorrow will bring together professionals, experts in their fields with young people to ensure young people are informed and well equipped on the concept of addiction and also especially on chemical and behavior types of addictions such as gambling, drug, and technology addictions. Also, risks and protection factors together with the Green Crescent Youth and volunteer activities. At the same time, we aspire strength international information sharing and communication network to disseminate protective and preventive information regarding addictions among young people. I would like to complete my speech with the holy words of Rumi, a Turkish, as you know, Rumi is a very, very famous Turkish Sufi poet. In Turkish, we say Mevlana Celaleddin Rumi. He says, when you do things from your soul, you will feel a river moving in you, a joy. Have inspiring sessions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emrah, for closing your statement with an insightful quote from Rumi. And I would like to...
A pleasure for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to introduce our second guest speaker for today, Mr. Ergin Beceren. Mr. Ergin Beceren is the Director of International Cooperation and Federation Management in the Green Crescent. He is also Secretary General of Vienna NGO Committee, which is the only NGO affiliated to United Nations Office on Drug and Crime. Before Green Crescent, Mr. Ergin served for a number of organizations on economic and social cooperation development. He has been experienced in strategy, leadership, and management in global projects by serving multinational organizations in more than 60 countries for the past 20 years. He holds a bachelor degree and MA degrees in industrial engineering and economics, and writing his PhD thesis in engineering management, where he gave lectures on strategy and management in different universities. His concentration areas are intercultural cooperation, multidisciplinary policy, and development. I would like to yield the floor to Mr. Ergin to deliver his opening statements. Mr. Ergin, floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ceren, and salam alaikum to everyone. It's very nice to be here with you, my dear young friends. I'm really pleased and honored to be with you today and tomorrow for the online training program of Young Volunteers Against Addictions, which is held with the strong partnership of Green Crescent and Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum. Hereby, I would like to thank the managements of ICYF and Green Crescent to give us all this unique opportunity to serve for the future of this world and reaching you for the solid development in here today. As mentioned, I'm the Director of International Cooperation and Federation Management in Green Crescent, and my team is responsible for the global agenda of Green Crescent in more than 80 countries, and also the partnerships, including but not limited to United Nations, European Council, World Health Organization, Organization of Islamic Cooperation, and so on. The Green Crescent founded in 1920, which is the oldest public health civil society organization in Turkey that empowers the youth and the adults through factual information so they can make informed decisions against different kinds of addictions, including alcohol, tobacco, drugs, technology, and gambling. There are many kinds of addictions, and it's impossible to focus on just one single cause and achieve results from methods based on only that specific cause. There are many psychological, physiological, cultural, and environmental factors exist. As a matter of fact, addiction is a slavery, and we, the humanity, have to be against all kinds of addiction. Today and tomorrow, we are going to have lectures on addictions and recovery. These lectures will give you a general framework of the problem of addiction and information about the recent trends and tactics for the mobilization of the public and especially youth against addiction. Finally, I would like to highlight a specific goal for all of us. which I strongly expect we will all have it in our minds, and after these valuable lectures that are specifically designed to you, my brothers and sisters. It must be our primary goal to bring together around an ideal which are represented to us, to our youth, under the name of freedom, and which trap them in the web of addiction industry, and to raise our youth as responsible individuals with strong minds, morals, and personalities of the future. Thank you again for being volunteers and taking action for the health and dignity of the youth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ergin, for emphasizing the strong cooperation between ICYF and Green Crescent, especially fighting against addiction in very close cooperation with our OIC Young Volunteers Network and ICYF alumni today. I would like to introduce our last distinguished speaker today, Mr. Yunus Sönmez, with my pleasure. Mr. Yunus Sönmez is the Director General of Cabinet of ICYF, where he orchestrates the daily operation of the institution. Before starting the ICYF, Mr. Sönmez served as an advisor in Turkish Diaspora Institution and Prime Minister of Republic of Turkey for 5 years. Previously, between 2004 and 2010, he worked for public and private sector institutions, including ICYF, where he coordinated dialogue platforms among youth organizations. Mr. Sönmez is currently a PhD candidate in Istanbul University, focusing on Turkish foreign policy. I would like to yield the floor to Mr. Yunus Sönmez to deliver his opening statements. Mr. Yunus, floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Ms. Ceren. It's good to see everyone here, our host everyone here, because we host all these valuable participants before, and good to see them again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is my pleasure to address here today at the second online volunteering training, Young Volunteers Fighting Against Addiction, in partnership with Turkish Green Crescent. Before I start, I would like to wish all the participants and their families healthy and safe days, and my prayers always be with you and your family's well-being during these difficult times. As ICYF, we are trying to do our best to keep empowering the Muslim youth with the initiative like this. Today, we are hosting 100 youth from 48 different countries, and it makes us more than satisfied to reach out such diverse group. Thank you all to being here today. The OIC youth are facing several challenges, including unemployment and conflict. But one of the pressing issues as well is drug addiction. There are several factors leading to the increasing number of drug abuse, some of which, but not limited to, are the financial and economic conditions of adults are going through. According to 2017 State of Youth in OIC Member States report by CESTRIC and ICYF, youth in the OIC communities ranked as the lowest in terms of consumption of illicit drug in comparison with the several other developing and developed communities. Alhamdulillah, this is a good figure for us. But states still need to keep a close eye on this issue. Drug use prevention is challenging, and to mitigate it, youth should train to fight and encounter the consumption of drugs. Education and training provided for the prevention of substance use is only available in 56 countries out of 147 countries responded where youth have access to training programs. Increasing the number of training programs will help to mitigate illicit drug abuse by honing the skills of the young people in coping with the addiction. Prevention programs such as online programs and regular trainings will significantly contribute to the better state of youth in the OIC member states, as well as all youth all over the world. Other factor that cause young people tending to consume such harmful products is the lack of awareness of the negative impact of these products. They bring that could result in lifelong catastrophic consequences. Raising awareness about the effects of drugs abuse will create conscious youth who realize the hazards of it, not merely to their health, but also to their families and communities as well. Having young people understand the impact of these behaviors will increase the likelihood of them quitting and starting to look after their well-being, that is going to lead them to focus on their studies or look for decent jobs. Awareness will trigger societies to flourish and labor factor productivity pulled up from the bottom. Through lessons learned and facts provided about the side effects of drug abuse, young people will be more responsible agents and members in the OIC communities. Looking at the facts of illicit drug consumption, around 275 million people around the globe used drugs at least once in 2016 in accordance with the World Health Organization data. The OIC member states rank lower compared to the other countries in terms of drug use. The use of psychoactive substances, however, like tobacco, is higher, while alcohol is lower among young people in communities of the OIC when compared to the others. The world tobacco products rate estimated to be 14.3%, a lower rate than the rate of the OIC member states of 40.7%, with Gambia topping of the list, followed by Guinea and Jordan. This is also from the CESRIC report. There are no final data regarding the alcohol consumption. However, it can be concluded that the rate is lower than that of the other countries, as consuming alcohol is not permitted for Muslim believers, and it is considered to be a divine act. Several issues youth are facing in the OIC communities need to be tackled, and to sort out drug addiction, there should be trainings and programs. ICYF is a leading institution focusing on encouraging youth to make an impact in the OIC communities. Introducing training programs will directly reach out to youth in the OIC region and provide them access to the necessary skills and knowledge to solve addiction problems. Such programs will help youth in their prevention efforts by having them understand the variety types of the risks and preventive factors that affect drug abuse. Youth will also learn skills on how to use the data to better direct their prevention efforts and gain tools to apply while tackling the pressing issues of the drug use. Before I conclude my speech, I would like to invite all the participants of the second online volunteering training to apply and join the other activities of ICYF, such as online media training, which will kick off 13th of July 2020 till 13th of July 2020. You can follow the trainings on our social media accounts. If you are not selected, even you can follow through our social media accounts. I wish you and your families healthy and safe days, and I will keep each one of you in my prayers. I wish all of you a successful training. I believe these particular topics on drug addiction significantly is essential for new generations, and I also believe that we have the right partner here today, Turkish Green Crescent, which will help us all to understand the importance of it. Lastly, I hope to see and meet you in the future once we go back our normal lives, and I would like to thank all of you for participating in this education program, and I wish you success in your life. Thanks a lot, Mr.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yunus, for highlighting the important data of the OIC State Youth State Report. It is one of the important responsibility of ICYF that we have been working very closely with the Ministry of Youth and Sports for collecting such data. Mr. Emrah, Mr. Ergin, and Mr. Yunus, thank you very much for joining us at the opening ceremony of the Young Volunteers Fighting Against Addiction online training today. Your constructive statements encourage all of us here today to be more aware and active fighting against addiction. Thank you very much. While closing the opening ceremony, I would like to switch the session to our first session today. Dear ICYF volunteers, we will start today's first session on prevention works in addiction that will be conducted by Dr. Abdullah Uçar. While our distinguished speaker is getting ready, I would like to also welcome all of you once more again, that when I check the videos that I have seen all of the ICYF alumni that we have met in different volunteering programs and as well as ICYF online activities. It is great pleasure to see you here today, and I firmly believe in that today's session is going to be very effective and very practical within your participation. So let me introduce our speaker today, Dr. Abdullah Uçar. Dr. Abdullah Uçar is graduated from Istanbul Medical Faculty in 2011. He completed his compulsory service as an emergency doctor at Sultan Gazi Lütfiye Nuri Burat State Hospital until 2013. He worked for 2 years in the establishment and publishing committee of Panorama magazine, published in Cerrahpaşa Medical Faculty and distributed in medical faculties. Uçar, who is a PhD student in Istanbul Medical Faculty, Department of Public Health, also works as a family doctor. So today we are with a very expert person who is going to give all the enlightenments and information on the prevention works in the addiction. So, Dr. Abdullah Uçar, I would like to yield the floor for you to conduct your presentation. Floor is yours, please.
Thank you a lot for your kind presentation, Mrs. Ceren. Hi to everyone. Assalamu alaikum. I'm coming from a village from Anatolia. Here is the garden at the background, you see. At first, my English a little bit poor, and if there's a problem, I apologize at the first. And now let me to share the screen and I will start my presentation. Yes. Okay. Now, Mrs. Ceren, please help. Are you seeing the screen?
At the moment, it's still in process. We can't see it.
Okay.
Maybe you can just stop sharing and share it again. Let me just also follow up the process. While you are working on that, I would like to also give little information to our participants. We are going to follow up the same modality that we used to do. After the presentation, we will be receiving your Q&A, your questions during the Q&A session, and you all expected to raise your hands in order to direct your question to our esteemed speaker today. And can we try again, Dr. Abdullah?
Wait again.
Sure.
Now it must be shared.
Yes, I can see.
Okay. Do you see now?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, there's no problem as I understand. Okay, I'm Abdullah Uçar. As Ceren presented, it's an honor to be here with you at this time of the day. I'm a little bit excited because of presenting to over the 90 people here. And I will talk about the prevention in substance and alcohol abuse. I have 35 minutes and it is impossible to understand all aspects of the problem and to present all the stages of the problem and aspects of the problem. I will give you some clues during my presentation. So let's start. In my context of presentation, I want to say this. We live in a world where access to knowledge is very easy, as youth know very well. We have all Googles and we are searching lots of things on the internet. But we have another problem because of this. As a result, it's a fact that we are faced with excessive information load, which is called information overload. Information overload is blocking us to learn something. And in such a situation, firstly, we need to learn how to reach accurate and reliable knowledge, because there are lots of knowledge sources. But how will we know which is the accurate and the reliable? And quickly and easily, how will it be success? Secondly, we need to learn how to learn for sustainable learning. This presentation aims not to transfer information directly, but to give a few tips on how to think and where to look for information. Public health approach, what is this and what will it mean? The public health approach focuses on preventing diseases rather than treating them. Who is treating patients? Doctors are treating patients. I'm a doctor too, and I'm a public health PhD candidate too. Now I'm talking as public health PhD candidate, not as doctor. The public health approach focuses on preventing diseases rather than treating them. The focus of medicine is diseases and treatment, but the focus of public health is health and prevention. Namely, we can say doctors are professionals of the disease, but the public health professionals are professionals of the health. The existence of preventable diseases indicates that prevention is not successful enough. If there is a disease which is preventable, it means that some public health professionals are not working so hard or enough. So prevention is always cheaper and easier than treating. Why? Because if you have a disease, it will cost lots of economy and social costs. You are separating from your social society, and you are spending a lot, lots of money to get health again. I have a question. Optimize your expectation. Why? If a doctor treat a patient, the patient will be so happy, and he or she want to give a medal to the doctor because he or she gave to the patient the health. But this is a one case, and so public health professionals have to optimize their expectation. Why? Because nobody will give you a medal because you have prevented a problem that has not yet occurred. Just know that the person who actually saved the world will be you, not the medal Superman. In substance and alcohol abuse, and I will call this as SAA, sorry, a really significant problem. Is it really significant? And we are talking now this topic around the world every day, everywhere, and at the national level, world level. Is it really significant? What is the significance of a problem? Yes, a little bit, it is significant, but a little big, little. Well, how and why? In the public health approach, we know the most common, most killing, most disabling diseases are important diseases. The SAA accounts for 60.5% of the global burden of disease. Is there a problem about sound?
We can hear.
Okay, rate Ali's sound very well. Okay, SAA accounts for 65% of the global burden of disease and causes 5 million deaths per day. What is global burden of disease? Let me tell in a short way. For example, if you have a year with full health, you have one quality adjusted life years, which is called QALY. For example, I have a year, during a year I was healthy, I don't have any disease, and because of this, I have one QALY. But for example, I broke my leg, my QALY is 0.5, and I had 0.5 QALY during a day. And the other part, the one part is QALY, the other one is DALY. What is DALY? The DALY is disability adjusted life years. So if you sum QALYs and DALYs, it is equal to 1. Shortly, QALY plus DALY equal to 1. So global burden of disease means all the DALYs around the world which is sound for all people. And we are not just talking about deaths, or we are just not talking about the same disabilities. There are lots of disability kinds, and there are premature deaths and not premature deaths. There are lots of health problems. And so World Health Organization is calculating these DALYs, and the Institute of Health Metrics in the Washington University is calculating these DALYs. And this is global burden of disease, and SAA is accounts for 6.5 and causes 5 million deaths. Worldwide, 3 million deaths every year result from harmful use of alcohol, just alcohol. I'm not talking about the drugs. This represents 5.3% of all deaths. You don't hear wrong. Yes, the all deaths, the 5.3% of all deaths from the alcohol related. Yes, it is so huge. The percentage of alcohol attributable deaths among men amount to 7.7%, and all global deaths compared to 2.6% of all deaths among women. And you see here men in a risk nearly threefold. Is SSA a really significant problem? We asked, yes. Let's look at the aspect of the economy. What's the economy of this problem? According to a study of the US Department of Health, the annual cost of SAA to the US economy in 1999. Maybe you can ask here why we are talking about the year 20 years ago. Because the cost effectiveness studies are so hard and so expensive. And I reached this study. Maybe they made again. In the US economy in 1999 is $510 billion. Not I'm talking about $1 million. I'm talking about $1 billion. For example, as I compare Turkey's gross domestic product per year, $850 billion. If you solve this problem in US, you are gaining a gross domestic product of half of Turkey. It is so much. And at that time, the US gross domestic product is a little big. And because of this, the $510 billion equals to the 5.3% of the GDP. Among national, as I mean national US, among national estimates of the costs of illness for 33 diseases and conditions, alcohol ranked second, tobacco ranked sixth, and drug disorders ranked seventh. The cost-benefit ratio of the effective programs in SAA is 1 to 18. What does it mean, 1 to 18? For example, if you buy a car this year, and if its value will be twofold next year, what will you think about this? What is the profitable range? The profitable range is 1 to 2. Why? Because you bought that car $100,000 this year, and the next year its cost is $200,000. This is a so profitable situation, doesn't it? Yes. And now we are talking about the addictions. If you invest $1 at this field, you will get $18. 1 to 18. It's a so huge amount. So this is these indicators are showing the significance of the problem, as you see here. Let's talk about prevention, its definition at first. In medicine, action taken to decrease the probability of getting a disease or condition is prevention. For example, cancer prevention includes avoiding risk factors. Which factors? Such as smoking, obesity, lack of exercise, and radiation exposure, and increasing protective factors, such as getting regular physical activity, staying at a healthy weight, and having a healthy diet. So I want you to focus here, risk factors and protective factors here. This is an public health approach. If you define a problem, you have to define the risk factors and protective factors of it, because you will implement some programs and you will aim some you will aim some goals, and the goals are reducing risk factors and increasing the protective factors. Let's talk about prevention levels. How much levels are there in prevention aspect? We have 3 levels. The first one, primary prevention. In this level, there is no disease. Everyone is healthy, but the individuals are at risk. So what will you do? You have to take action against determinants or risk factors of disease. Namely, you are focusing on the causes before disease has been occurred. For example, we are making immunizations in society against infectious diseases. For example, we advise people to do regular exercise against cardiovascular diseases, reducing sugar against diabetes. Well, if you are failed in primary prevention, people will get sick. What will happen? Is it okay? Is it done? Is the game over? No. The answer is second prevention. In this level, there are people who have disease because you failed in the primary level, and people get sick. So we have diseases, we have sick people, but not disability or medical complications. They are at the first stage of the disease. So what will we do? We have to take action against disabilities or complications due to disease. Our focus are disability and complications. For example, mammography for screening cancers, regular blood pressure testing for hypertension. What does this mean? In society, there are some people who have diseases like breast cancer, hypertension, but they don't know they have this disease. They are not aware of this situation. And we are finding these diseases and taking early actions. Yes, we have a guess, the youngest of the population. If you are failed in secondary level, what will you do? People will get disabilities or complications because of your failing. Okay, is the game over? No. The answer is tertiary prevention. In this level, there are people who have disabilities or complications because you didn't take early actions, and people get sick, and these diseases progressed a little. Maybe the disease at this middle stage. So take action to slow or stop the progression of disabilities or complications, rehabilitate the medical and social effects. For example, if a pianist, for example, broke his finger, what will he do? What will be done? You have to rehabilitate the medical situation. But, for example, you rehabilitated the person, but you didn't get the healthy situation 100%. For example, a person had an ischemic attack, and from now on, he's not able to walk. What will be done? At this situation, we can talk about the social effects, social rehabilitation. What is it? For example, in the Tokyo, in a restaurant, there are robots. They are serving meals to the customers, and these robots are controlling by some people who have disabilities from their home because they have some diseases and they are not able to walk. They have virtual reality glasses and they have remote controls. So they are controlling the robots at the restaurant and they are having a chance to contribute to the societal life by this. This is an social rehabilitation example, for example. At this stage, chemotherapy, rehabilitation, screening for complications is our main focuses. Let's talk a little bit about social determinants of health. If we are healthy, we can talk about the causes. In which ground we are getting this health situation? Are we so Superman, or are we how can I say? Do we have a chance? Let's talk about the first stage. If you are healthy, at first you have a good genetics. Your sex and age is determining your health situation. For example, if you are a female, you can have breast cancer. This is a risk factor. And if your age is older, you will have some situations. And if you have some genetical diseases, so you will have some health problems. But let's assume you have super genetics. Your risk factors are so small. Okay, is it everything is okay? No. It depends on individual lifestyle factors too. If you don't have a good lifestyle, your age, sex, and genetics is not so much important. For example, if you are eating so much sugar and if you are eating so much carbohydrates and you are not taking care about your diet, you will have probably cardiovascular diseases independent from your genetics. So if let's assume you have a super lifestyle and super genetics, is it okay? No, it's not enough to again. You have to get a good social and community networks. What is this? Social and community networks. For example, you're making a diet and you have a good lifestyle, and in the journey, you went to the grandma's home, and your grandma made a cake, so super cake for you, and but you are in a diet. If you don't eat that cake, your grandma will think again about your journey and she will not be happy so much. Because of this, and you are a kind person, you are eating that cake. This is social networks and independent from your choices. For example, let's assume so you have so good social community networks, individual lifestyle, genetics. Now let's talk about agriculture and food safety. If the water you drink is not supplied in a safety way, you will have lots of infectious diseases. And even in city level or national level. And low education is correlated with poor health. Workplace environment. For example, if you are working in a workplace which have lots of risks, you will have, for example, life-threatening risks. living and work conditions, unemployment, water sanitation, and here, we are here. You see, healthcare services. All doctors, nurses, professional care is here. According to Dahlgren and Whitehead, which this study belongs to, healthcare services is here and their impact on the health is so low. The studies show that, according to the CDC in the United States, the proportion of the healthcare services at all, 20% of the determinant of health. And the last factor, housing. For example, all these factors are so good, they are imperfect. But if you have a war in your country, like for example Syrians, these factors are not important. This is the main determinant of your health. So this figure is a map of the determinants of health. If you are planning to promote health in a city or on national level or at a school, you have to consider these factors at all. Let's talk about risk factors of SAA. Conditions in people's lives that make them more or less likely to use alcohol, tobacco, or illicit drugs. For young people, alienation, stress, social pressure, poor grades, family problems, curiosity, risky environment. For example, consequence-free portrayal of drinking, smoking, and drug use in popular movies and music are some of the reasons why they may turn to alcohol, tobacco, and illicit drugs. Why I'm listing this? This list is goals for programs that will be found in the file. Why? If you want to promote health about the addiction, and if you want to study on the risk factors, your goal is reducing risk factors, your focuses are here. You can focus one of them on your program. And what are protective factors for SAA? We can talk about individual factors, family factors, and environmental factors. Individual factors are these: positive temperament, social coping skills, problem solving, ability to stand up for beliefs and values. Maybe we can say activism. Positive social orientation, belief in one's ability to control what happens and to adapt to change. I want you to focus on these list are candidates to be promoted for protective factors fighting against the addiction. Family factors, unity, warmth, and attachment between parents and children. Parental supervision, contact and communication between and among parents and children. Maybe you can ask, what can I do about unity, warmth, and attachment between parents and children? Don't think pessimistic. Maybe you can found a crisis line. Maybe you can guide the families. For example, a family who have a child and they are learning this child is using a drug. What will happen in this family? Maybe the father of the children, the father of this child, can beat him or discriminate him, or the other problems that can be occurred. So this child can go to the his own how can I say it? His own social environment. Why? Because he feels so poor value in his home. and he feels so valuable with his friends. So, in the family level, you can change things. Environmental factors, positive emotional support outside of the family, such as friends. Supports and sources available to the family, such as crisis line, as I say a few minutes ago. Programs for individuals with trauma or post-traumatic stress and family counseling. Community and school norms, beliefs and standards against SAA. Schools characterized by academic achievement and students who are committed to school. How do substance use, for example, issues arise? According to the public health approach, we have three things. We need three things: an agent, a host, and their contact. Where? In the environment. An agent, which is the agent? Alcohol, tobacco, or drug, or another thing. For example, technology. We are talking about technology addiction. We need an agent, we need a host, the individual user, the environment, the social, cultural, and physical context in which use occurs. So, these three points are our focuses. To make a lasting difference, prevention efforts need to address all three parts of this model. If you block the chain, it's a very nice success for you. If you block the source or environment or promote the individual, you will block this chain. And areas of influence. Maybe you can ask, where will I start from? Which community will be my goal? Let's talk about the levels. Maybe you can make a program, you can study on individual level. You can try to change the behaviors of individuals. Maybe you can focus on the peers, and maybe you can focus on the family, schools, communities in the society, and whole society. So, according to your sources, foundation, capacities, you can make programs which are which goals these influence areas. How to change SAA behaviors? Don't worry, I don't talk about these subtitles. I want to just I want you just to see these titles because if you want to change SAA behaviors or another behavior, there are lots of behavior change models, scientific models. For example, you have a friend and you want him or her to change his or her behavior, but you have to define which stage in which stage he is in or which model is suitable for this situation. For example, stages of change theory is so suitable for the addictions, and the other models are used in addiction preventing studies. I'm just showing you the titles, and maybe you can search them after this presentation. This is my second slide from the end, and I will finish this presentation. Before, I want to give you some tips for success in any prevention strategy. At first, engage partners. Where is your audiences? Where is the target? You have to determine this. Gain support for your strategy. maximize the participation of target audiences. For example, give prizes, supply fun or food without alcohol and substance, reduce barriers, offer transportation, for example, keep control of all parts of your strategy, give strong doses. For example, you made an activity about preventing the addiction. Oh, okay, I made it. It finished. I have done my goal. Okay, no. In the medicine, for example, if you have a disease, you are using the drugs or medicines for a week, for example, or for a month. Just one drug is not useful generally. So if you give one dose of preventive activity, it won't work regularly. You have to do it continuously or in an extended time. Deliver prevention activities fully. Try different versions of strategy. Not use just one strategy, because different targeted communities needs different versions of strategy. Use long-term approach, maintain support, and be flexible. Just this. And the last one, resources. Where can you get reliable and accurate information and guidance about this topic? In the first of the presentation, I said to you, we talked about information overload. There are lots of documents about this topic. Where will we get the accurate and the reliable information? For example, I highlighted two documents here, and at the right, focus on prevention documents, which belongs to US Department of Health, SAMHSA. This is so useful guide, and it is so practical. If you want to found a program or project, you can find the steps to do here, and it is so practical and useful. Here, World Health Organization is a source. SAMHSA is the department of the US Department of Health Addiction Office, and the EMCDDA is the European Office of the interested in the addictions, and NIH the scientific source for drug use and alcohol abuse. These are enough, as I think. I'm very thankful you for your attention. Just this.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdullah, for this insightful presentation. And thank you so much for the all information. It is very understandable to make such kind of extensive presentation in a short, limited time. But it was very clear that the importance of public health approach and its definition for all young volunteers to understand to begin with. And also substance alcohol abuse statistic by comparing the harmful use of alcohol, and as well as the comparison between gender and its effects on economy, determination of the prevention levels, extensive factors that are affecting our health, such as importance of genetics, individual lifestyles, protective factors that you briefed us very clearly, and also SAA behaviors that I was very interested, and its structured stage that we need more time to understand what are those. And lastly, well clarify the successful prevention strategy. Our young volunteers can understand the whole prevention works is a long work, and there are so many partners and so many bodies that needs to be included in. So this is the follow-up training, and our participants today, they were trained and certificated for being volunteer in any kind of topics. After the volunteering trainings, there were some groups of our volunteering team that they were going to create some projects for their respected communities or any international level. So thank you so much for explaining the public health approach and as well as the prevention works, like how we can do it. But from my perspective, that I can easily understand, whoever would like to be volunteer in this process, they must be engaged with the official bodies, official governmental bodies who are working on the prevention since the behavioral process. And there are so many experts There are so many doctors and the professors needs to be included in this process. I would like to ask a very clear question about how young volunteers can play important role during the prevention works. Where do you see young volunteers or young people in fighting against addiction, but especially for the prevention work, how we can position ourselves?
At first, we want them to protect their self, because if they're not able to protect their self, how can they help the others? And the other factor, I listed the areas of influence. According to the capacity, all the young people can have a role in this field. For example, in a school, in a club, in an NGO, in a city, in suburbs of a city, they can make projects and programs. And I can say this, while we are doing something, we are focusing on to make it perfectly. Perfectionism is a barrier to achieve some success, as you know. Because of this, I advise to make small projects and small targets, and to make the young friends see themselves. It is possible to success, to make some implementing projects, and they are working. The models, for example, they use are working. They let them, how can I say, let you to see how works these mechanisms while you are implementing to the file. Because of this, make small projects. Learn in the small projects. After that, implement in the large projects then.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdullah, for clarifying first, just like looking after ourselves to protect our health. And then the next step is just a designing project in a small strategy to understand how the mechanism is working. I would like to give the floor to Suraji from Ghana for his question. Please, Suraji, you can ask your question.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Please,
please, yeah. Hello.
Hey, hello, we hear you.
Ah, okay. Please, my question is it's not even a question as such, but I heard the doctor spoke about alcohol being the second,
Yes.
second, but I don't get that area very well, so I want clarification on that. That is why I'm calling. I'm confused with that area. The second of diseases, or like, I don't know, but I want him to clarify that area for me. Thank you.
As I understand, you're asking about that 33 diseases, and alcohol was the second one. As I understand, true?
Please come again.
As I understand, you asked about that 33 diseases I present a few minutes ago, and this alcohol use was the second one. Okay, what's the main question?
Yeah.
I do please.
You were talking about the department, the U.S. Department of Health or something like that, have certain ranks for drugs or diseases or something like that, and alcohol was ranked second. That is what I want to understand.
Okay. This list belongs to the U.S. Health Department, not around the world, and they made cost benefit studies, and they listed the most costly diseases from 1 to 33 around all health problems, and the alcohol is the second at least at this list. Mainly, its cost is so much. Is it clear for you?
Yeah, yes. You mean diseases, and alcohol is second.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
33.
Okay.
There are 33 diseases in the
Oh, okay.
list. Which list?
Okay.
More costly diseases list.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the first one is the most costly disease, and the alcohol is the second.
Okay. Thank you.
But in US, not around
Okay.
world. Thank you for question.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I would like to give the floor to Haritat Ojibri from Nigeria. Are you here, Haritat?
Yes, I am.
Please.
Can you hear me, please? Okay. So my question is actually, I would say two questions, but I'll try to make it as brief as I can. So the first one is, how would you, okay, what would be your advice to someone who wants to help a friend who is addicted to one of those illegal substances, but the person is not willing to quit and really would love to help the person, but he is not even willing to stop. So considering the fact that you can't help someone.
Yes,
Um,
sound
Yes,
quality
because
is not so good, and it's hard to understand.
Yeah, Haritat, since I have the question, let me direct the question because we are having some difficulty to hear your voice.
Okay.
I would be
Yeah.
so glad if you can write me the
Okay.
question from chat box like we did. So the question is, what do we do if the addicted person is not ready to quit? Considering you cannot help who doesn't want to be helped, but there is someone we love, there is a beloved person of ours we would like to help, but they don't want to be helped. So
If you ask a doctor, the doctor will say you this. If the individual is not or don't want to be treated, you can't do anything. But according to the public health professionals, this is not a good choice. This is our job. According to the public health approach, if you want to change the behavior, you have to focus on the motivations at the first. For example, why this individual don't want to change his behavior? What is the causes? You have to determine the causes. After that, you have to make programs and projects targeting all the causes, and you have to screen the process from first to end. Because of this, I put change behavior model titles in my presentation. For example, in the beliefs, health beliefs model, there are some components which are generating the motivation of the behavior. If you have motivation, for example, you made this guy motivated and he or she wants to be changed. Now you have environment, for example. Now you are focusing at the second hand, making an environment, or but for example, you motivated the guy, but there is no environment and it will take time. What will you do? All the motivation will be lost. And it will be so hard to get motivation again. Because of this, addiction programs must be in partnership. While you are making the first stage, the other must make the second stage, and the other made, for example, family. The other foundation must study on the family or school projects. Because of this, you have to work with each other, and these organizations in collaboration with these the other organizations. And I advise to go deep in health behavior change models. They are the main concept about this question.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdullah. There is a second question of Haritat that I would like to direct you on behalf of her about on the tips for successful approach towards working on addictive behaviors. You mentioned give a strong doses. Is this to be done as time goes on or right from the beginning? if it's from the beginning, won't the person get overwhelmed at the beginning?
We mean by appropriate dose, for example, somebody came and, or you got him or her, and you are trying to change the behavior. For example, in this presentation, if I put all the documents, all the knowledge here, the audiences now will be blocked, and they will think, no, this is so complicated subject, I don't listen it, or they will be so bored. And now what I did, I made the key point. I put the key points in the presentation, and now it's more clear to understand the way and more to understand the map, where we are, where is our position on the map. So at the first dose, you can't, you mustn't, you shouldn't give the all the information to the person who have addiction, for example. According to the situation of him or her, you have to behave. Because of this, trans-theoric model exists, for example. For example, the person is in the middle stage of the changing. If you give the first dose wrongly, for example, if you think like this, if I give the information to him, he will change. No, it won't work, because just knowledge can't change the behavior. You have to focus on the sources and knowledge and behavior change models and the doses of this. If you give the overdose, your friend will go another way, and he will think, no, this tunnel is so complex and so dark, I mustn't go there. You have to focus on the feelings and thinkings of the addictive people. People have addiction. You are trying to change what they feel or what they think. Because of this, at first you have to understand what they are thinking and what they are feeling, and because of what they are thinking and feeling like this. So, individual. For example, there is no a golden way. If there's a golden way, there's no need for us. You can write the guides and guidelines, and addictive behaviors can change. Or we don't need doctors, for example. If there is a golden drug or medicine, we can give it to all patients. All of them will get the health. But there is no a golden way. We are evaluating the situation dependent on the individuals, and according to this, we are deciding which way we must follow and which prescription we must write. This is so similar to this.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdullah. And so far, I understand that every case is unique and every individual has different behavioral history that needs to be understood and well studied by the all counterpartners into issue that needs to be worked together and fixed together, let's call it. So we have another participant who would like to direct the question. Haynes Hetz O from Myanmar, please. The floor is yours.
Thank you. My question is, like, most of the young people are entering into the corporate world and balancing their work and life. I think it is the main reason behind their stress and then the addiction. where the addiction come from. So I would like to know what are the possible solutions to make the younger generation make easier and not attached to these kind of things through their entrance to the corporate world. Thank you.
There's a little bit problem about the sound. And
Yeah, actually, the question
I take the
was-
80% of the question.
Yeah. Okay. The question was about, if I'm like missing any point, please also you can write it from chat box, that young generations are combating at the moment between the life and the work balance, and it's stressing them a lot, and that's why they are somehow finding themselves using addictive materials. So how young generations can be more healthy? What are the solutions that we can suggest to them in order to deal with, cope with this current situation, balancing the work and the life and the all sort of expectations?
I'm trying to understand the main problem in this question. What you want to say, Hein, had about what is the main problem you want to focus? If you repeat it, I will be pleased.
Hein, can you hear us? Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, so my question is like younger generations are entering into the corporate, that is a business world, and then I think balancing their life and then work, I think it is one of the stress factors behind their addiction and then their destructive behavior. So what are the actions that we can take to prevent and give necessary treatments for our younger generation, balancing their work and life? And I want to hear it from the corporate world. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, okay, understand. But you asked a so technical question. This is the stress due to the business work and life balance. This is so technical question. As a doctor, it's not my profession. Stress is one of the determinants of the addiction, you know, as I presented before. And you are asking about how to cope with this stress. I can say to you about stress. It's due to the inflammation in the body. Inflammation is a ceremony, like if for example, how can I understand it? How can I say it? Inflammation is the main source of the stress, and this due to the pressure, work pressure, for example. Maybe you don't have a problem with your work or life. Maybe there are some enabling factors. For example, you have problems with your family, but you are making a causation between work and addiction. You have to analyze the cause tree. You have to write them. And this tree, you have to focus the main causes and the causes of causes. The prevention is interested in the cause trees. Because of this, in the work stress, for example, I'm working, sometimes I'm working hard, but I'm not in the stress. But sometimes I'm working not hard, but I'm in stress about this thing. Because so we have to analyze the causes of this stress. Why, for example, you are working and you have a stress? Why is it interested about your business sector, or just interested in your bosses, or interested in the work hours, or the workplace conditions? We have to analyze this. There's no golden solving. I can just say this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Abdullah. Before closing, I would like to also direct the last question. There are some applications in the world under the excuse of reducing harm. For example, there are some countries where cannabis use is legalized. How
Yeah.
should we evaluate this situation?
Yeah, this is also a big threatening factor for health. Some countries having these situations, for example, in United States, 9 states has legalized the using of the marijuana. And marijuana using is being legalized around the world. This wave started from the US and Uruguay and Canada, for example, and there are so much problems about this. Why they are legalizing the marijuana? Because the use range of marijuana is so wide, and if you are if you make this marijuana use a crime, you are getting lots of crime, lots of youth who has crimes. Because of this, they started to harm reduction. In prevention studies, for example, you prevented something, but another part you are not able to prevent. So what will you do? You have to focus on harm reduction. If you want to harm reduction, you have to do in the prevention stage whatever you can do. For example, you didn't work hard in the prevention stage, and people are using cigarettes a lot. They are smoking a lot, and now you are making them. You are saying them use the electronic cigarettes. Now, Public Health England in the England is doing like this. They are promoting the use of the electronic cigarettes. Why? Electronic cigarettes are harmful too, but the other cigarettes are more harmful. So because of this, they are how can we say it? They are changing the behavior. But we have to ask this: have you worked enough to prevent smoking? After that, you are making a harmful strategy. We have to ask this. If we don't study enough in the prevention stage, we will have to be implement the harmful strategies, and harmful strategies will make the harmful things normal. And this is a so huge threatening factor for health. But we have to use harm reduction strategies too. We have to focus these areas too. But this is not the main solution. I have to emphasize this. Harmful strategies are not the main goal. This is, I'm repeating again, if you do whatever you can, and you made all things you can do, and you didn't prevent some proportion of the problem, now you can use or implement harm reduction strategies. Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdullah. This is the end of our session, and we will be switching off for the next session. Thank you so much for your all valuable inputs.
I thank you. I thank you for the opportunity, and thank you all community here for listening.
Yeah, and it was an extensive topic to be conducted today. Thank you so much for your all valuable efforts. And dear participants, we will be starting to other session in just maximum 3 minutes. We all ask you to be here and follow up the Miss Marwa's instructions on this matter. Thank you so much, and see you in the next session.